Good morning, Grand Rising, everyone. I hope you're having a great eclipse season here. Uh, this video is going to be about the lunar eclipse on May 5th. It's going to be at 14 degrees of Scorpio. So I haven't been on here much in the last week. I've been taking some time to, really to sleep. I've been sleeping a lot. Has anybody else been feeling really tired during this eclipse season? I feel like we're in a portal right now, and being in this portal is infusing us with all these downloads and uploads and left loads and right loads and all kinds of interesting information that is preparing us for this next 18 months. Right now, we're not fully into this 18-month cycle yet. There's going to be many layers of this, but yeah, this 2 week period is very powerful, very potent, and very intense as we say goodbye to our old life and step into our new life, right? So as we take a look at this lunar eclipse coming up, it's anything that whenever we have a lunar eclipse that has to do with the south node, especially in Scorpio, that is letting go some deep stuff. And this is and it's really interesting to note that the solar eclipse that we had in Aries at 29 degrees and this lunar eclipse are both in signs ruled by Mars. The next eclipse cycle that we have in October, both of them are ruled by Venus, Taurus and Libra. So I feel like we're doing a major life recalibration when it comes to our divine masculine, divine feminine, the ebb and flow of our masculine and feminine energies, which is why I think that there's all these attacks on gender, right? Trying to confuse people. But let's not get it twisted because we know better, right? Now, what is really interesting, that for this particular eclipse, the sun is going to be conjunct Uranus. And we also have Mercury in there too in the mix with Vesta, right? So with Mercury retrograde in Taurus, where this is a very special Mercury retrograde because it was conjunct Uranus, and then it cazimi means it conjuncted with the sun at 11 degrees. Now it's at 8 degrees, so it only has about another week before it goes direct. But it's speaking with a lot of different energies in our consciousness, especially Uranus, because we're now really putting a foot, kind of dipping our toe into the age of Aquarius. It's not really going to fully come in until 2024, but really now that we're dipping our toes into this new world, we're getting all these realizations and understandings about what we need to see and let go of and understand in order to fully step into our new world. So at this point in the game, really what I feel is happening at a deeper level is our minds and our heart are trying to align, right? So our soul, our higher self, is speaking to us louder and louder and louder. And as that is happening, our ego is either going along with it or is fighting it. So there is going to be some level of resistance going on there. But, as we recognize the resistance, we tone it down and we allow the soul to come through. But that also requires a deeper layer of trust. Trust in things that may not logically make sense. And what's up, Poetic? Happy Friday. All right, as soon as I got on here, my throat started, acting up on me a little bit. It's interesting, clearing out that throat chakra. So with the sun conjunct Uranus and all these Uranian aspects going on, it's asking us to let go of logic, let go of structuring and control and figure out things that make sense. It's asking us to tune into what feels right. And even if what feels right doesn't make any sense, to trust, right? Because the trust is trusting in our higher self. And look, even if when we trust and we step into that trust, I remember when I first decided that, I no longer want to live in lack. I no longer want to suffer. I no longer want to be in this place. I want to be, abundant. I want freedom. I want financial freedom. I want freedom to be able to be with my daughter whenever I want. I want freedom of health, freedom from from all the bullshit that comes with the matrix, right? And so I made an agreement with myself, and this is back in 2014, 2015, that I would, whatever I felt was right, um, that I would go into it with trust, and that, you know, whatever came out of it, you know, I would continue to move through it. And I went through many layers, many layers of what the fuck is going on. I went through many layers of, okay, I made the decision and it resulted in a learned lesson. And there was many learned lessons that I had to learn because let's face it, as you're growing, you know, everybody has different amounts of things that they need to work through and move through in order to be able to get to the very core of the self, to get that alignment in place between the head and the heart, right? And I happen to have many layers. I was very stubborn. And I'm grateful and super thankful that I've had the strength and the wherewithal to be able to go through it. But if you look at anyone that's great, that's been through a great deal of feats and difficulties, right? Like I look at 50 Cent and Eminem, like those two are very big examples for me because I've had similar journeys to them where it's been, you know, like a lot of hardship and difficulty and having to really go deep in and face your fears and getting ready to go up and face your fear and you start puking and you know, feeling all these really deep feelings that are very difficult to move through, but you move through it, you get stronger, you gain confidence, you gain, you know, self-recognition into the soul, and you know, and you start to really trust and believe in what you're doing. And then once you gain that absolute trust and understanding of your heart, what your heart's trying to tell you, and you go into it with conviction instead of like, I don't know, you lean into it, right? When you lean into the fear, when you lean into that difficult feeling, you have complete knowing. You have to get to the place, you have to go from believing to knowing. And that journey, you don't know how long it's going to take, right? So, in that not knowing requires faith. So, really, it's a process of going from living life in fear to living life in faith. And this lunar eclipse in particular, it's going to bring up that deep fear, guys. Scorpio is about fear, and this is the last one in this 18-month cycle. I'll go ahead and read you guys the inside degrees about it. Thank you, Pharaoh. I appreciate you. I'll read the inside degrees about it, but be willing to move into the fears, to look at the truths within you that you may have been denying, that you may have been avoiding, because this is really the last part where it's saying, hey, let's go. I mean, we have Jupiter at 27 degrees of Aries. It's now 10 degrees away from Chiron. We've learned this Chironian lesson about who we are, right? We have Neptune coming into 27 degrees pretty soon, which is, we've never seen that in our lifetime. And 27 degrees of its home sign is mastery of the collective, but it's also, you know, maximal delusion, illusion, addiction, escapism, right? So where are you escaping in your life? That's what this is asking. And if, you know, a lot of chosen aspects are showing that we're having to look at those parts of ourselves that we've been avoiding looking at. Now, we also have we have Venus. That's at 27 degrees of Gemini here right now, and that is square over to Neptune. That is 26 degrees 51 minutes. So it's right there. All right. But Venus square Neptune, how are we receiving or how are we not receiving? All right. And of course, Venus in Gemini is the cerebral energy. Now, at the same time that we're asking ourselves about this receptivity to our divine feminine, we have Mars is conjunct Black Moon Lilith in Cancer. So Mars has already been super uncomfortable with the emotional stuff, and conjuncting Black Moon Lilith, this is adding like a rebellious sort of sexual type of energy. Well, for women, it's how you express your sexuality. For men, it's more about the kind of women that you attract. Or actually in Cancer, it's about your sexual identity and how you relate that to the world. Women more internal, men more external. But with Mars conjunct there in Cancer, and it's coming up into its opposition to Pluto, which Pluto represents, you know, the the deep unconscious mind, but also the sexual energy that comes along with the collective. And of course, this lunar eclipse is in Scorpio, which is all about our sexuality. So there's a lot of deep sexual energy, which means that Kundalini activations, all right? Sexual energy is also consistent with our creative energy, right? Kundalini energy. It's all one and the same. So there's a lot of energies out there that are trying to confuse our sexuality. We see that with the gender stuff going on. We see that with, you know, the sheer, you know, like how big porn has got, like all this distraction. There are entities and all that stuff, guys. And so we have to be very careful about where we pay our attention to, because when you're paying attention, that's energetic currency that is taking away from the currency that you can use to create your reality. This is what the darkness is trying to do, okay? So we need to take our power back, especially with this deep sexual energy, and infuse it into what we want to create. But here's the thing, a lot of people, they don't know what their purpose is. They don't know what they feel like they're supposed to do. So you know, we all have a purpose. Like if we're living in the world right now, you have a purpose. And this is all about collaboration as well, right? And Pluto and Aquarius, now Pluto and Aquarius at 0 degrees, it's still like a void space, right? So we're feeling into this new kind of energy, and it still feels a little confusing. Still feels like, things are definitely changing. I don't know really what it means, but I can tell that the way that I used to approach things isn't quite working anymore. Why is that? Because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. It's all about control. Now, Aquarius, the ancient ruler is Saturn, but the modern ruler is Uranus. So this is us collectively shifting from Saturnian energy to Uranian energy, which Uranian energy is opening up the heart. It's getting out of the head. It's getting out of the old control dynamics and stepping into what we trust in our energy, right? Decentralization and us creating a sovereign environment in our lives. And through that sovereign environment in our lives, we create the sovereign environment in the world, this new world that we're creating. So, you know, we actually, looking at it now, we have Neptune that's coming up 27 degrees. We have Jupiter that's at 27 degrees. We have Venus that's 27 degrees. So this is a lot of 27 degree energy, and the third decan of every sign, it represents the collective, right? So there's a lot of collective push. Now the eclipse is at 14 degrees. And 14 degrees is the middle decan. So this is looking at like how we relate in relationship to the world, right? And with the nodes that are in the last 4 degrees, it's 4 degrees, 3 minutes, which means it's almost to 3 degrees. And that last couple degrees is the mastery when it comes to the to the nodes. So essentially, the collective is turning a clock. A couple months, it's going to completely shift, and so this eclipse season, particularly the solar eclipse that happened 2 weeks ago, is going to get hit multiple times over this next 6 months. And so we're coming into the end with this lunar eclipse. We're coming into the end of this 2-week period, which is a portal coming into this new place. Then, of course, Pluto is going to retrograde back into Capricorn. It's already retrograde now. It retrograded 5 days ago, but it moves very slowly. So that also means that Pluto is moving very slowly. And the slower a planet moves, the stronger the influence it has on these energies, okay? So this is a very Plutonian, because Pluto also rules Scorpio. This is a very Plutonian eclipse. And Pluto is not an easy energy to deal with. It's just, it requires surrender. So stop trying to figure it out. Okay, that's not going to do you any good. If you feel like you got to, like, dude, like I've been resting and sleeping 12, 14 hours a night, a day. Like, even like my workouts have not been great, and I can't even eat like I usually eat. Our bodies are going through an upgrade, activating crystalline structures. So, you know, don't try to force anything. Trying to force things right now is going to destroy you. Stop doing it. Okay, please. Sometimes, like, especially when there's a lot of etheric or spiritual things that are happening in the other realms, our physical bodies get very tired, right? If you ever notice that when you're doing a lot of spiritual work, if you ever went to a retreat or a ceremony, you notice that, wow, my body is just spent. I just need to lay down, sleep, relax, meditate, whatever. It's because you're doing a lot of energetic spiritual work. So let that work move. The more you allow it to move, the more it's going to move, right? If you keep trying to like make it a certain way or be a certain thing, then you're just creating resistance in the process of the healing. Okay, so we also have Saturn at 5 degrees of Pisces, and that is sexaquadrate to Mars. So, you know, Saturn is the great malefic, Mars is the personal malefic, which malefic, they say it's difficult energy. Those are two of my rulers. So it just means, to me, it's more discipline. It's more, you got to push to figure it out, like kind of like a David Goggins energy, if you will. You know what I mean? Like that drill sergeant in your mind. It's like, let's go get it done. You're stronger than this. You gotta, you know, you gotta be bigger, better, faster, stronger. And then at the same time, other planets come in to say, well, okay, you can be big and strong, but you know, find the balance. Although I will say the balance is not the easiest to come by right now. However, at this stage in the game, with the Mercury retrograde is slowing us down, saying, take it easy, right? And Mercury is going to go back to just 2 degrees away from the North Node. So when Mercury started at 2 degrees away from Uranus, it was getting downloads and information from Uranus, which is that higher vibration, you know, downloadable energy we may not fully understood. Then as this retrograded, things have happened in the last couple of weeks that have taught us things, situations that we've had to move through that has made us feel certain things, that have strengthened us up, or that has made us need to move into, you know, a certain new frequency. And now that it's coming close to the North Node is our destiny. It's the unknown to where we're going. So now it's saying like, okay, I moved through these feelings. Now it makes sense. I don't really fully know, it hasn't fully processed up here, but I get that I'm going in a better direction because it feels right. So we're learning how to feel more into the cognitive aspects of our mind, which is the blending or the alignment from the mind to the heart. Okay. And then coming into the next month or so, we're going to see Jupiter coming into Taurus, and then Jupiter is going to conjunct the North Node, which is one of the most benefic aspects in astrology, next to the Sun conjunct Jupiter. And because that is illuminating our future, or at least the direction of where our future is going. And well, if you're watching this, you're doing the work. You wouldn't be resonating with me, you know, unless you were. So, you know, watching this content is, you know, maybe giving you some validation or information about what you're feeling. Oh my God, that makes sense, right? So the next 6 months, especially with Pluto being square the nodes, the universe is turning up the heat on pushing. It kind of feels like we're being pushed in a corner, right? And as we're being pushed in that corner, though, it's like, all right, you got to face this, you got to feel that, you got to do this, you got to, you know, get that. This is divinely orchestrated. And then the soul is choosing, the soul is, you know, deciding, okay, I'm going to face this, I'm going to feel it, I got to do it. And it forces you to come into the present moment. You have to bring all your attention into what's going on. And when you do that, it's training the blind spots in your consciousness to all come together. And when they do, this is happening at a very subconscious and unconscious level. So while that's happening, it's showing us how to connect with ourselves at deeper levels. Okay, so real quick, I'm looking at inside degrees for 14 degrees of Scorpio. So what we have here now, it's 14 degrees 57 minutes. So 15 degrees is relevant as well. So I'm going to read both just so you guys can have that information and understanding. So 14 degrees, woman dressed in black, they're wailing and mourning. That sounds fun. Darkness, heaviness, sobriety, grimness, grief for lost worlds, dramatically cleansing what must be let go, freeing the spirit, laboriously and intensively preoccupied with endings, and captivated by the past. You are fascinated with the decomposition of things, living deep in the unconscious inside collective dramas, lost to yourself, thrown into patterns, syndromes, worlds that require drastic measures to transform, a feeling of being cursed, a sensibility of doom, a creation of the worst inside. The long-established, deeply ingrained consciousness of stark limitations, getting under it and destroying it the long, hard way. For some reason, reading that just reminded me of like a pharmaceutical video, right? Where they have a picture of somebody dancing, frolicking in the fields, and then but may cause death, diarrhea, burping, farting, brain cancer, and aneurysms. Have a nice day. So this is really going into the deep, deep, dark stuff in the unconscious mind, feeling all those things that we don't want to feel, and going into it and just like kind of like in like a Tough Mudder, or if you've ever been in the military, when you got to go into those, like go into the mud, you just got to crawl underneath the thing, underneath the barbed wire while like the rounds are going over your head. You just got to do it. You just got to get in there and do it. And going through that process of doing it is going to teach you something about yourself in a deep way. Now, let's look at 15 degrees, because this is also a relevant energy. All right. A woman with a gold tooth, an extraordinary gift, very abusable and utterly redemptive. You invent, conceive, bring into being whatever you hope and whatever you dread. Usually the dread comes up first and dominates for a while. In this cycle, you scare up the world's most extreme melodramas, each one of them marked no way out, no way through. If you should outlast your dread demons, and you shall, you will find in a very different direction that there are equally powerful hope angels. You hope and wish and yearn for everybody to go free, and this wishing has deep, uncanny power, for you have been nourishing for a very long time two counteracting worlds. The one dark and heavy with foreboding, the other swept clean by the magical will to bring the world around right. The one who has made the light go out brings the light back in a seasonal tempered form. And this renewed light is phosphorescent, glowing in the world's darkness, seeing the way clear, knowing it can be done. So both of those have a bit of a darkness, but also sort of a reality check, because the fact is that we will make it through, and this can and will transform us. Now, this being a lunar eclipse, meaning an ending, my interpretation is that we're ending all that shit. We're coming out of a very difficult, very dark, very heavy time. And it's going to require a very deep and intense transformative process, right? So I almost feel like this is like a final exam. The universe is giving us a final exam of this chapter of our life. Now, this final exam, we're in the beginning phase of a 6-month process of the transformation and transmutation of energies. So allow the energies to unfold, accept what is, surrender to the process, and let yourself be transformed through this Plutonian energy, because Pluto will come back into Aquarius next year. It's going to come back into Capricorn at the end of May, beginning of June, and then retrograde back to 27 degrees, which is the Pluto return point for the United States. So that's going to be interesting. I feel like that is going to kind of kick off whatever massive, deep changes are going to happen to create a new leadership structure, a new process of running this country, really. We're going to see new leaders stepping up, old leaders, bowing out, or just anything that is not heart-centered, heart-based. You saw what happened with Tucker Carlson recently, right? And I think that new platforms are going to be created and old platforms are dying off, and we can see it already. And all the stuff that's based in truth is going to start to have a dominance in the energy. So rest in faith with that, and stick to your own truth within yourself, and express that truth in whatever way you deem appropriate and necessary for your life path to unfold as it is meant to be. Okay, so I hope that this video helped, and If you're watching on Instagram, you can also, I'm going to upload this to my YouTube. And I'm going to be doing a lot of traveling here in the next week, so I don't know when the next time I'll be able to get on here is, but I will do my best. You guys will see. All right. If you like doing work with me, getting real with me, please message me in my Instagram. My Linktree is up there on my YouTube. You can, comment below, and I'll see y'all on the next report.